A few months after I was born, my mother passed away. I was raised by my grandparents for the first 6 years of my life, while my biological father, Dan, moved across the nation with his new wife after getting remarried. At most, Dan would come by every 2 years. He would come over in the morning, bring me some snacks and games, and have a conversation with me about life before leaving after supper. The older I became, the fewer times I saw Dan. My grandparents used to call me down when they thought I was asleep, a lot of memories of them. A boy needs his father, so they would grovel for Dan to come see me more often or take me to Georgia with him. For years, Dan was my hero and I still loved him. But after my self-centered attempts to destroy his marriage, Dan stopped coming to see me. I kept calling Dan, thinking that maybe the time difference was preventing him from waking me up, but he never called to wish me a happy 13th birthday. Sarah, his wife, picked up the phone. Sarah was a really beautiful woman, and I found out she had no idea that I existed. Dan revealed to Sarah that he was childless and that he had been in California on business. Later, Dan yelled at me, accusing me of trying to break up his marriage on purpose and of being egotistical by always asking for his time. Dan stopped coming to see me after that, and I started to think of him as just another sperm donor. I consider my life to be fairly excellent. While my work isn't really enjoyable, it is reputable and well paid. Harper, my adorable little baby, and my amazing wife are the light of my life. Until I started getting updates on social media, I tried not to think about Dan. I was unaware that Dan used social media. We also share a pretty common last name, so I wasn't concerned about how we would ever get in touch. Dan posted comments on nearly every post we made on Harper, ranging from her last day of second grade to the photos of her as a newborn. All he mentioned was how lovely and intelligent his granddaughter was. I sent Dan a note letting him know that he has no right to act in the same way as Harper's grandfather and to avoid my family. In response, he said that since Harper was his granddaughter and he had given me life, I should really respect him. I blocked him and gave him another warning. Dan responded on a different account about how Harper's grandfather gives her such nice looks after I made a post the other day. I told Dan that he had until I was 32 to act like my father, and that he had no right to act like some wonderful grandfather and father after moving across the nation and leaving me with my grandparents when I was 6. Once more, I blocked Dan. Dan is being publicly humiliated online, and I've heard from him that he plans to close his account shortly. Family members agreed with me about Dan, but they felt that criticizing him online was not a responsible course of action. I understood that I could have simply blocked him, but in my opinion, you can't abandon your child and then come back when it's convenient to appear like a family man. Am I the foolish one? Not the fool. After your mother passed away when you were 6 years old, he essentially disappeared from your life. Then, decades later, he suddenly appears on your social media and makes comments about his granddaughter. He then made a new account to resume his creeping and stalking after you blocked and reprimanded him. You haven't done anything wrong here, he discovered after playing around. I apologize for how harsh it sounds, but this man lived as if you didn't exist for about 26 years of your existence. What authority does he now have to enter your life and attempt to take custody of your daughter? You destroyed his union? Nope, buddy. By hiding you from his wife, he wrecked it for himself. His lovely granddaughter? He disowned you. Thus, he has no rights to your kids. Oh no. However, it's true that it's not the best use of your time to shame him online. In your position, I would choose short-term billboard advertising through newspaper ads in his hometown. A 30-second video that shows how he abandoned his son and is geolocated within a 2-mile radius of his house and place of employment is something else I would think about doing. Utilize Facebook's ad targeting in addition to Instagram and Facebook. Finally, create a website and register a URL with his name. Then, maintain the website's visibility by funding an AdWords account. If he pays back his arrears for child support and finds any past due birthday presents, it can all end. OP, you're not a moron. You never considered doing any of this. Though it would be amusing to do so, I've come to the conclusion that Dan isn't worth any more of my time or money. I appreciate your support, everyone. We have now made our social media accounts private for my wife and me. We will not be sharing any more pictures or videos of our daughter on any app if privacy is not a setting. During my youngest daughter's week-long absence, I, a 50-year-old man, let my 30-year-old oldest daughter and her toddler boy to sleep in her teen room. She became very upset and yelled at me for not asking her ahead of time if they could sleep there when she got home early. My younger daughter has always been dramatic, so my elder daughter dismissed it. However, I felt really mistreated. It's not a huge problem, I assured her. Mike runs to bed after we've cleaned the bed, and we're currently washing the sheets. When she heard her nephew pee on the bed, she became even more alarmed and declared she would never sleep on a bed that had been urinated on. We cleaned it, I assured her, and I told her that I was her father and that she should be mindful of her tone around me. She said that it was her room, that I should have asked her, and that she was having an anxiety attack due to her OCD. I advised her to unwind, as it's likely that they didn't touch her belongings. She eventually stormed to her room and shut the door after growing increasingly irate with me. I haven't heard from her since last night. It honestly doesn't seem like a huge problem to me. Yes, my grandson could have slept in the pack and play, and they could have slept on the couch, but I wanted them to be cozy. My youngest spent a week away. Is it my fault that I allowed my daughter to sleep in the room of my other daughter? Edit. She has OCD, but it didn't give her permission to yell at me and treat me disrespectfully. When my youngest arrived home, my oldest went back to her residence. It's you who is the fool. A bed that has been peed in cannot be cleaned unless a waterproof mattress protector was previously present. They most likely didn't handle her belongings. Although you are her father, your daughter is entitled to her belongings and personal space. That is unaffected by her momentary absence from the home. Without telling her, you altered her sleeping quarters and bed for a toddler who wasn't yet toilet trained at night. Details. Have you placed a mattress protector down? How did you clean the mattress, if not? I don't think venting is relevant. Then you disregarded her viewpoint and took away her freedom to feel as she pleased. I'd be angry if this were to happen to me. I'm older than 30. It's his house, and she's just a theatrical little child. What a failure. The fact that OP believes he deserves respect after grossly inconsidering his daughter's boundaries, privacy, and legitimate feelings is quite ironic. Whoa, it is not a major concern. How come you didn't give them your room? Absolutely not, as you respect your privacy and didn't want others to handle your belongings. Absolute moron. You also need to get your daughter a new bed. OCD was quoted by you on air. You're minimizing the actual level of stress your daughter is experiencing. By training her to control her anxiousness, you're not doing her any favors. Her seeming disdain for you worries you more than the fact that she is experiencing anxiety due to a condition she will live with forever. My brother's choice of wife is not the issue. Our family loves her, and she's fantastic. The problem is that they did not have a traditional wedding with the relatives present. Instead, they eloped. He's been dating his girlfriend for 3.5 years. They first met in college. In 2020, upon their graduation from university, they moved in together. She and my brother announced their marriage last Tuesday, 6 days ago. After getting married in Belleville, they rode the VIA train back the following day. They announced their marriage to the world on Thursday. They chose that particular Tuesday because it was his girlfriend's first consecutive day off since starting a job. In 2020, she started her career as a hospital nurse. Because his partner is still wary of meeting new people because of her work, they stated they don't want gifts, won't be hosting any additional wedding-related events, and won't be attending any parties on their behalf. My brother blocked me and every other relative because of the intense criticism and hatred. He threatened to cut off communication with his girlfriend forever if anyone spoke to her. His girlfriend's family seems to feel the same way, based on our parents' conversations with them. The fact that they eloped is the problem, not that her family dislikes my brother or vice versa. Her family is Italian, and we are Mexican. Both families are very large, and large weddings are customary in both cultures. Everyone feels so let down by them. I'm aware that when my parents first spoke to her parents, they discussed the logistics of moving in together, which caused some agitation, but the worldwide crisis prevented a wedding. In any case, I informed my brother that he made a huge mistake. When they told everyone, he was aware that there would be criticism and consequences. They said that the same morning they got married, they made the decision to elope. My parents were shocked that he proposed to her without giving her a ring, and they don't even own any. I know that neither she nor my brother are allowed to wear rings to work, but the symbolism is still significant. My brother believes I'm the incorrect person since he lost it on me. Upon reflection, both families are sizable, and nobody seems to agree with them. Additionally, both families value a church wedding, even though I'm not religious. Not only am I upset about it, but so are my parents, siblings, grandparents, aunts, and uncles. Am I the foolish one? There was no way he didn't know this would happen. I was just telling him the truth. It's you who is the fool. She is his wife to start with, she is not his girlfriend. Whether you like it or not, and whether you were present or not, they are married. They acted in their own best interests. You have no right to attend their nuptials. They are free to do as they choose. They are not required to get married. They showed no disdain for anyone. Do you wish to marry into a large family? A large-scale family wedding is possible. It's not necessary for someone to invite everyone to their wedding. You and everyone else who is giving your brother the runaround are idiots. That makes you the fool. The reasons for his elopement are evident. Your brother and his wife had good reasons to oppose the large weddings that your families would have preferred, and the families thought they would be able to dominate the wedding. You're acting like the couple was right when you say that he eloped. Their best option was to elope because trying to negotiate would have been fruitless. This is their marriage and their connection. If they prefer not to wear rings, so what? You will have to keep your distance. Even when someone is related to you, it is not about you at their wedding or marriage. Permit individuals to lead their life as they see fit. Correct? That's the scandalous part about how the couple's parents began discussing the specifics of the wedding as soon as they moved in together. Gives me the creeps. Just reading about these oppressive families makes me want to go away. After 21 years of marriage, my spouse and I have 3 kids, a young son, also an adolescent, and 2 teenage girls. With one exception, our preference in names, my spouse and I have always had a happy marriage and are extremely similar to one another. When it comes to naming our children, my husband has always liked names that are more conventional and classic, but I like names that are more unique, out there, and current. We made a compromise since there were no names that we both loved. Our eldest child was named by my spouse, our second child was named by me, and our third child was presumably given a middle name by me and a first name by my spouse. Our eldest child has never taken to her name. Over the years, she requested several name changes in an attempt to seem more like her sister. My spouse would compliment her on the beauty of her name and its significance as a family name. It felt old and dull, she said. She has been more forthcoming about this over the past 2 years, and has repeatedly brought it up after she fell in love with the name she wants to use. She recently came down with us and requested that we think about allowing her to change it before she becomes 18, so she can begin her adult life with less paperwork to complete and less red tape to clear. My spouse took it quite seriously. He told her that when she goes into the working world and wants to be considered seriously, she will be grateful for her lovely name in a few years. She noted that I never experienced any issues. He told her he named her after numerous family members and did it with love and consideration. She persisted, and he informed her that the choice was definitive. I assured her that we would talk about it and get back to her. Once we were alone, my spouse said, "No way." I urged him to get over it, that although I could see that he had put a lot of love into picking her name and that he loved it as it was, he didn't have to live with it. I made the point that he will make her hostile by flatly refusing to even entertain the idea and by adopting such a firm position, which strongly suggests that he would continue to refer to her by the name he gave her, even if she changed it when she was 18. He replied, "That's just what he would do." And I told him I should have been more clear in everything I said. He claimed that I was unable to speak since all of my children seemed to like the names I chose. So he might as well not have selected any names or showed any concern. I could see he was angry, but he also seemed to take it personally. I'm wondering whether I'm the stupid one now, not the fool. It's her life, and as long as she wants to avoid being called ketchup or doing anything that will cause her issues, that's all that matters. Furthermore, she doesn't seem to be in a mood, or will get over this in a month. Selecting one child as the first and the other as the second is never a smart idea. It's a surefire way to aggravate folks. Since it was his only choice for a name, I completely understand why he is offended, but he doesn't have to live with it. If he declines to provide for your child or objects to the name change once the child turns 18, he will be the fool. I'm hoping he'll turn around. Nobody pronounces or spells my pleasant, ordinary name correctly. I've never liked it. It's quite popular, but a little out of date. It's been 8 years since I last used it. Such is more than 20 years without utilizing such moniker. It was always such a huge deal to my mum. She didn't give a damn about my feelings regarding my name. She liked it, that's all. Her strange possessiveness towards my name is one of the reasons that caused us to drift apart. Parents that act like way ought to take a step back and realize that it's not about them. In this case, and yes, you are entirely correct, your child will not communicate with her father because he is too focused on honoring a name rather than a person. At the start of this month, my teenage son, who has saved money, purchased a new PlayStation for himself, but he won't let his brother, who is preteen, to touch it. Although at first I thought this made sense, I now believe he's being absurd. While his sibling does not, he is employed. When he's not home, there's no reason why his brother can't play. I also promised to provide him a new one if his sibling accidentally broke mine. He merely claims his sibling is incapable of touching it out of pure greed. I threatened to take it away from them after their fight last night if he didn't start sharing. With his money, he purchased the PlayStation. But it's my living room, my TV, and my electricity. He can either keep it in a box in his room or learn to be a part of a family. If I tell my older son that he can't play with it until he learns to share, am I the idiot? It's you who is the fool. He should be free to keep it to himself. After all, he paid for it with his own money. Purchase a console for your younger son. If all else fails, tell the elder child that he must purchase a TV and place it in his room, leaving the console in the shared space and luring the younger child in. It's you who is the fool. Your teen is not supposed to entertain your smaller child. Your comments lead me to believe that you have strong guidelines in your household and that you don't purchase family game systems because of some moral conviction. How deceptive of you to let your elder son accumulate money for a console of his own, only to later inform him that it is not his to keep alone but needs to be shared. That's right, this is the way to make your child hate you and his brother. If the original poster's sons were to have a console that is shared by the community, the poster ought to have either purchased it for them or paid the son back for something he earned through labor. The only equitable common ground would be that. It would be theft if OP took the console, not the fool. In my opinion, what matters most in this situation is your willingness to replace it for him in the event that something breaks while his sibling is playing. In light of that, as well as the fact that the younger brother wants to play while the older brother is at work, I believe this to be a completely sensible position. I concur. The suggestion that the OP purchase a new console for their younger son seems unrealistic to me. Although the adolescent paid for it himself, it is inappropriate to get a new one only because the eldest is treating the younger one like a fool. Not that the younger brother can't purchase one for himself. It would be a waste of money to purchase a second one.